Hello everyone, my name is Aiden, and today I'm going to be going over all the books that I read in the month of April. Unfortunately, I didn't get to read as much as I wanted to, but it was still a good amount to me. So I read 4 books. I'll just quickly go through each one. This is pretty spoiler free, so let's get to it. The first book that I read is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. If you didn't know, this book is a historical fiction based during World War II, and it follows 2 different POVs. They're both kids, but one side is a German boy who becomes a Nazi soldier, and so it shows what he has to go through on that side. It also follows a French girl who is blind, and it shows her POV. She has to flee her home with her father and go to St. Malo, where her uncle lives. I believe it's her uncle. So it just shows her side and everything that she has to go through. And it's quite emotional, can be sad at times, can be very tense at times. It can also be inspiring. There's a lot in this story that's pretty interesting. It goes back and forth between these 2 protagonists. So it'll be one story here, and then you flip the page, and then it goes to the other perspective there, then other perspective, and it just kind of keeps doing that. So it's actually pretty easy to read because of that. You know, if you don't have time, you're taking a lunch break already, or whatever, you can just go to where your spot is and quickly read that one section. So yeah, I would say it has a good diversity of characters. It's pretty medium paced. The characters are pretty lovable. Even the German side with Nazis, they're also human beings just put into the wrong situation. So yeah, I gave this a 4.25. I would definitely recommend it to people. I might even go back and reread certain areas. And just warning, there is some graphic content in the book. There's war, death, violence, sexual assault, anti-Semitism, death of family members, all that. So next book I read is a Southern Gothic horror that I would also say is a literary horror, and it is called The Elementals by Michael McDowell. I made a whole video on this book if you want to check that out, and it's a spoiler-free video. I made it mostly for people to watch before reading the book. This book I really, really liked. I thought it was quite unique, and the ambience, the atmosphere that is created is so eerie and beautiful and tense that you really feel like you're there with the characters. So if you don't know, this was published in 1981 and based in the 80s. It's about 2 families, the McRaes and the Savages, who, after having a funeral of a matriarch in the family, they go off to a vacation area, like a privately owned beachfront area with 3 Victorian houses on it. They all look the same, but 2 are habitable, but the 3rd one hasn't been lived in a long, long time. And it is slowly being taken over by a dune of white sand. The bizarre things happen, and yeah. So I would say I would recommend this book to people who don't even read horror. Although I would warn you that it does have some gore and death and injury and racism, stuff like that. So, to be warned. But this is dark and tense, and I would say a literary horror as well. It can be quite beautiful with the prose at times. You do have a diverse group of characters, and they have pretty well. Some have pretty strong development, I would say. Overall, I gave this 4 stars. It was kind of hard for me to rate this book, but there were some things that I just didn't like. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't read the book. You should definitely still check this book out. So what I didn't like is India and Lucre. India is the daughter of Lucre. He's father and daughter. They kind of had a strange relationship. I just feel like they did some things at times that a father and daughter shouldn't do. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But then India kept saying that she knows things about her father that no one else should know, making it sound like he does or did something bad. She implies that stuff a few times throughout the book, so I thought by the end we would know what she's talking about, but we never find out why. So that part bothered me, that we never got to find out what she was talking about. And also, you may have a hard time finding this book. I got it from the library. I could have bought it online, but I checked the Barnes & Noble's website. I checked a 100-mile radius, and none of the stores had this book. And when I went to Houston, I checked within the radius there, and none of the Barnes & Nobles there had this book. And I checked some local bookstores as well. They didn't have. I don't know why. I mean, this author, Michael McDowell, is the same person who wrote the screenplays for Beetlejuice and The Nightmare Before Christmas. So we know he's a good writer. And Stephen King said he was the best literary or fiction writer of the time in America. Others have said he's the best horror writer, which he's not around anymore. He died in 1999. But I heard his Blackwater book series is one of the best horror series out there. But not a lot of people know about it. Let's work together to get his books out in bookstores, get more people knowing about it, because this book really was unique, and I would recommend it. All right, the next book I read. This book took me forever. This book is the reason that I didn't read as many books as I wanted to this month. That is House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. I'm sure you've heard of this book, what people go through with it. So it's a little hard to say what it's about, but basically, I would say this is like a literary fiction, literary horror, and I'll just kind of read what it says here. Focuses on a young family that moves into a small home on Ash Tree Lane, where they discover something is terribly wrong. Their house is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Neither Pulitzer Prize-winning photojournalist Will Davidson nor his companion Karen Green was prepared to face the consequences of that impossibility, until the day their 2 little children wandered off and their voices eerily began to return another story of creature darkness, of an ever-growing abyss behind a closet door, and of that unholy growl that which soon enough would tear through their walls and consume all their dreams. That's not even the half of it, I guess. I would say. Yeah, this is dark, it can be emotional at times, it can be tense at times, confusing most definitely. But I would say a lot of people are intimidated by this book, and I was at first as well. And when you first start reading it, it can take a minute to get used to the style. But I would say don't feel too intimidated about this book if you haven't read it yet. It looks big, you got some pages like this, but if you go through this book like you see here. But then as you go, you get pages like this, that are basically empty. And you get it quite a lot. Like, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. So it seems like a lot, but then as you saw, there are a lot of basically blank pages. So you can actually get through this fairly quickly. What I would recommend is to don't stick to each and every word unless you want to. You'll get lost at times, and that's okay. Just keep going. That's what I say. This book is pretty slow paced. You can get bored at times. It does have a diverse group of characters. Are they lovable? I would say it's complicated. And the flaws of the characters are a big part of the story. So I had a really difficult time trying to figure out what to rate this. So it did take a while, but I decided to rate it 3.5. This book is very unique. It's quite an experience, but it's also boring at times and exhausting. So I grabbed some stuff of what other critics and authors have said about this book. So critics have said it's experimental fiction that unfolds like a labyrinth instead of a linear story, which is very true. Some think of it as not being a book. It's actually more of just an experience. It makes reading a physical act of decoding the layout, and you have to kind of participate in meaning making. People think of it as innovative and ambitious. Some have said that it reinvents the haunted house story to be more of avant-garde. It can be kind of a parody of academic writing as well. So it is kind of formed in like a academic writing sort of way, or like an essay or academic journal, however you want to think of it. That part is what can make it kind of confusing at times. There's a lot of footnotes, and those footnotes can be very long, and people think that it is kind of a parody book that can mock how some people overanalyze books and words. Some critiques from other authors have said that it's overly complex, could be self-indulgent, kind of gimmicky too. I'll say yes, incredible, but hard to recommend. I would recommend it to certain people only. So yeah, a lot of people respect this book, but the enjoyment level of it really depends on the person. Did I enjoy it? At times, yes, but mostly, no. It felt like a lot of work to get through. I mean, I did want to keep reading. It made me want to keep reading, but also I wanted to just throw it across the room. So yeah, I did give it 3.5. Would I reread it? Probably not. Alright, the last book I read is Story Genius by Lisa Cron. So this is a nonfiction book, the one nonfiction I read this month, and it's basically on, how to use brain science to go beyond outlining and write a riveting novel. I'm trying to become an author, so I'm learning as much as I can. So I saw this at the library and thought I would give it a go, and it wasn't bad. A lot of good information in it. I did think that it was a little too long. There was some fluff in it and repeating that I don't think was very necessary. Yeah, I give it a 3.5 because of that. I would recommend it to people, but also you'll end up skimming, I think, through parts. And I didn't always agree with some of the things that she said, but that's how it is with these type of books. You kind of read it and you analyze and you decide what to take in and what not to take in. But yeah, those are the 4 books that I finished this month. Now, it is now technically May. This month, I'm planning to read quite a bit because I have started a challenge I'm hoping I can complete. So, if you don't know, the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, Book 8, Parade of Horribles, is coming out this month. I think May 13th, May 12th. So, I want to finish all the way through book 7 before book 8 comes out. How many books have I read so far? 1. I've only read the first book. That's the problem. So, I'm challenging myself to read books 2 through 7 before book 8 comes out. Can I do it? Probably not. But I'm going to give it a try and push myself. So, I will be having a Dungeon Crawler Carl challenge video coming out, if you want to check that out later. If you do want to check that out, hit like, subscribe, the notification button, and that way you'll know when that comes out. And then I already have book 8 on hold for myself, so I can go and pick it up when it does come out. Anyways, thank you for watching this video and watching me blab about these books. If you read any of these books, let me know what you think. And I'm definitely curious about The Elementals and House of Leaves. If you've read those books and what you thought about them. If you have searched for The Elementals in bookstores, have you been able to find it? If you have, put it down below, comment below where you found this book, and maybe people living in your area can go and get it from there. If you can't, you can always buy it online or get it from the library. You can also try the audiobook. I heard the audiobook is actually pretty good. So I might, because I did want to reread this in the future someday. So maybe instead of rereading, I will listen to the audiobook. I don't know. If you read House of Leaves, what did you think? Would you recommend it to people? I'm curious. And then All the Light We Cannot See. If you read that, how did you feel? Did it make you sad? Did it inspire you at all? Based on your family's history, what side you were on or whatever, I'm curious what your thought process was while reading the book. So comment below, let me know. I'm always curious to hear what you guys say. But I'm planning to have a lot more videos come. I'm trying to start recording a lot more. So I'll keep pushing for you guys. But until next time, keep happy, keep healthy,